I'm Taban Shoresh. I'm the CEO and founder of the Lotus Flower. And we have joining us today as well is Vian, and I'm going to let Vian introduce herself.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Taban. Thank you, everyone. Hello. This is Vian, the Regional Director from Lotus Flower Organization. I joined Lotus Flower since the foundation back in 2016. I'm very happy to be here today. I'm happy to see all of our partners and friends from Iraq and outside Iraq being with us to celebrate 10th anniversary of Lotus Flower.
I'm a genocide survivor from Saddam Hussein's era. I was a child political prisoner that escaped being buried alive with my family. We arrived in the UK as refugees when I was 6 years old. And in 2014, I went back to Kurdistan when ISIS was in the region, and I'd left my city job there at the time and went back because of the humanitarian crisis that had unfolded. And having spent 15 months out there working on the front lines, when I came back, I realized that there was a massive gap with 2.6 million people displaced and so much support that was needed for women and girls. And so I registered the Lotus Flower in my living room with absolutely no money, no connections, but I knew exactly why I was going to start. And the first person that I got in touch with was Vian. And Vian from there left her very secure job to something that was uncertain at the time. We didn't have anything, managed to get a burnt cabin because we didn't have any money, got some volunteers in one of the camps, and in 2016, on International Women's Day, our first centre and safe social space was started. And from there, we started our programs. And Vian will go through some of the key highlights in our programs a little bit later on. And we've come up with three kind of buckets, I'd call them, or pillars, which is the Lotus Local, the Lotus Global, and the Lotus Learning. Lotus Local represents all the local community projects and work that we do that is deeply rooted in the communities. Lotus Global is all the global advocacy and global work that we do to try and bring change, especially in the arena of localization. And Lotus Learning is we are in a unique position where we have 1 foot locally and 1 foot globally, and how we build a bridge between those connections and bring the insights from the local to the global. And we share our insights and kind of strengthen not just other smaller organizations, but also international partners to learn how to work with local community organizations really well. So we work with the community based around trust. We kind of co-create, co-design with our communities and make sure that they are included in every part of the step. We are needs focused, so we speak to our communities to make sure that we understand their needs very well when programs are designed. We try and innovate locally as much as we can, and we're very adaptive in the work that we do. And investing in skills and strengthening the local ecosystem is very important to us. In KRI, Kurdistan region, we are 100% locally staffed. And in terms of the team, we have a very small, efficient UK team, and that UK team is really there to support and strengthen the localization program and the local team.
So under health and safety program, health and safety pillar, Lotus Flower implements a comprehensive general protection program that supports community members through a holistic approach. This includes mental health, psychosocial support, structured GBV and child protection case management, cash for protection, referral pathway, community awareness, and community and also protection for the protection monitoring for the communities we serve. Since 2023, we have been delivering these services in the governorate with the support from ECHO through CARE Iraq, reaching over 25,000 individuals from IDP, refugee, and host communities living here in non-camp locations in the governorate. One of the women, for example, engaged in this program initially approached the center facing many challenges, including, for example, limited awareness of her rights and also low self-confidence. Through a consistent engagement in case management, psychosocial support sessions, she began to better understand her situation and identify available support systems. Over time, her participation in awareness session, group discussion helped her rebuild trust, express her thoughts, and connect with other women facing similar challenges in her community. With continued encouragement and also capacity building that Lotus Flower provided to this woman and many others, she gradually took on a more active role, supporting peers, sharing information, and facilitating informal discussion within her community. Today, she is recognized as a trusted resource among many women in her area. She actively raises awareness about available services, encourages others to seek support, and contribute to fostering a safer and a more supportive environment for women and girls like her in her community. Her journey reflects the transformative impact of holistic protection programming that Lotus Flower implements, where support goes beyond immediate assistance to enable long-term empowerment and community change. Lotus Flower has been the child protection actor for UNHCR in the past few years. We were implementing several critical protection interventions for refugee children, which this program also goes under our health and safety pillar. Unfortunately, due to financial and funding constraints, the project had to stop last year, which left a critical child protection gap in the areas where we implemented, which Lotus Flower is currently trying to seek how we can fill in these gaps once again to ensure that support is continued.
And that's not just in child protection, it's in protection of women and girls. And we're seeing funding in this area really reduce. Obviously, that will mean that there will be gaps and there'll be increased forms of gender-based violence and all issues that women face. So we need to ensure that protection programs continue. With the current instability, protection needs will also go up. We need to ensure that livelihood programs also continue. There's a big livelihood need in the region, and we're trying to ensure we can support women in that process. Mental health support is a massive need. The toll of the last 10 years, not just on women and girls, but the whole communities, has been absolutely traumatic. And we are facing increasing mental health needs with the constant conflict and instability in the region. Climate awareness, like Vian mentioned, is an area that's also increasing. We are facing constant floods and in summer droughts and wildfires, and how we kind of bring protection into that.
Which is one of the massive programs that we have been implementing in Kurdistan region and Iraq since the foundation. I remember the first program of Lotus Flower was Sewing Sisters, which was a very good and successful livelihood program that we implemented for Yazidi women in one of the IDP camps in Kurdistan region. Our women's business incubation under this program, we help women and girls to be provided with business management and business development training, mentorship, coaching, and we provide them with the financial grants to either support their new businesses or to scale up already existing business. Intensively on community awareness and advocacy for human rights in general, but focusing particularly on women and girls' rights. We hold campaigns, we contribute to national action plans, and we work very closely with local and international partners to ensure that women's needs are prioritized in strategies, in policies, and national discussions. Examples of these programs, for example, we had the issue of personal status law that the majority of you might be aware of it. And there has been a lot of advocacy efforts from the country level between different organizations, specifically women's rights organization, to ensure that this personal status law does not pass the parliament. And fortunately, it did. So what Lotus Flower did with the support from Medica Mondiale and other partners on the ground is that we intensed our community awareness campaigns to ensure that there is at least enough information within the family, within the community context, that women and girls and other community members are aware that even if the law exists, they all have this awareness that, for example, child marriage is a bad option for their kids, is the bad option for the entire young girls and boys. While there are laws that are good for women, unfortunately, there is no awareness. And even if there are bad laws there has to be an awareness that people do not go with the options that they have enough awareness that these options will have negative impact on their lives and the future of their kids. So we ensure that community awareness continues in all our programming. We either do it in our centers through sessions and seminars, or we go door by door through team mobilization.
Now, like I mentioned, we faced many challenges, and from constant different wars, from funding priorities changing, from reduced funding. The current instability in the region is a big issue that we're facing. And also issues that women's organizations face. You know, Vian mentioned the personal status law and how that impacts women and girls, but also women's leaders. You know, recently we had Yana Muhammad, who was a prominent feminist leader in the region, who was assassinated outside of her home. And for us, you know, as women's leaders who are working in this space, we recognize the dangers that we can also face.
Key staff members who are implementing these programs are local team from the ground, from the areas where crisis is happening. This has immensely helped us to continue work in the hardest times and moments. In times where the majority would prefer to stop services, we continue to ensure that communities are not left behind. For instance, even in the recent security developments in the Kurdistan region and KRI, TLF is trying its best to ensure that services continue. And what is really helping us is that having our team from the areas themselves that does not need other people to go and need, for example, transportation and other resources to be able to reach the communities in need, because we hire from the community itself and they are there to support whenever it needs.
Now, I'd love to move into some partnerships. You know, we are very lucky to have had some great regional, institutional, local partnerships, which have been large scale, that have allowed us to grow to this level in the last 10 years through our programming, the way that they've done knowledge sharing, but also to remember the small unrestricted supporters that we've had along the way, which has been critical in filling in the gaps where there have been gaps. We've had lots of key partnerships that have improved our programming, but also strengthened our organization and allowed us to grow as an organization. And we've had some brilliant supporters that have based their giving on trust funding. And I think trust philanthropy and trust funding is a really critical area to go. I know we've had partnerships in the past, for example, with UN Trust Fund, with flexible funding, and that has proved to be a successful model. We have philanthropist partners who do giving based around trust-based giving. And that allows organizations like ours to move with the needs of the community and actually address the root issues. When you have the flexibility to be able to move and address the root issues, then you start seeing change happen. we are locally rooted and globally connected, which puts us in a very unique position to see the gaps from a local perspective, but also how we highlight that on the international level. And we need to ensure that we use this unique position and this privilege to influence change and make sure that change really happens, not just to support local organizations like ours, but to support all local organizations, especially women's organizations who are at the front lines risking their lives to implement programs. Local organizations and recognize that we are the ones in crisis who are first responders, but also do tend to stay there. We need to make sure that core budget lines are supported. We need to ensure that admin percentage is increased or actually just remove the percentage. It's not supporting us. When we're focusing on just project funding and we get a small percentage of admin, it doesn't help an organization strengthen for the long term to be able to carry on and sustain in the future. I think we need to ensure that protection guidelines, we need to ensure that protection and legal cost lines are included in budgeting. We need to ensure that local organizations have the opportunity to build reserves. Those three items, protection for the staff, protection, legal support for the organization, the ability to build reserves, are things that we've never really had the opportunity to do. A growth learning that we'll be doing is to ensure that our organizational strengthening is a pillar. So the way that we have the education and livelihoods, peace building and human rights, health and safety, and climate change, which are aligned to sustainable development goals, we will be adding organizational strengthening pillar to that. Because without supporting the organization, none of these programs would happen. And it's called Localization in Action Incubator. And this program has been developed from experience. So the fact that the Lotus Flower started from nothing to where we are now, all that experience from 10 years, we've packaged into a program. And we want to strengthen other smaller organizations along the way with us. Now, our UNHCR partnership actually allowed us to do this a few years ago with some small unregistered local organizations where we got them registered, we trained, we helped them with their capacity and actually strengthened them to the point where now they are fundraising, they are continuing their programs, and I think that's brilliant to see. So for the next 10 years, we would love to be able to not just strengthen our organization, but to strengthen other local grassroots, locally rooted organizations to ensure that we can absorb and support and collaborate with each other as much as we can. For year one for Localization in Action Incubator, hopefully we have 6 organizations that will be signing up. And if you're interested in supporting this, then I would encourage you to reach out to us because it really is a sustainable way to support local programming. Bring people in from different sectors to really look at ways of innovating. And I think every single person has an opportunity to make a difference within their area. For example, we have corporate partnerships in the UK where, it's as a small local charity, we've been able to lead a large corporate's charitable giving framework. Now that for us is a really, really big step in trying to ensure that the focus is on locally rooted organizations and how funding can access them, and going out of sector and bringing other sectors in to try and help them and navigate their understanding of how they can support in the world. I think for us, it's been an incredible 10 years. It's also been very challenging, but we're very, very proud to have started from absolutely nothing to 10 years on, impacting the lives of 115,000 women and girls. And I think the fact that the next 10 years, I am really excited to create innovative ways of strengthening and including other local grassroots organizations like ours. We come from a place of understanding, and the localization and action incubator program that I was speaking about is a great example of that. What that program is that we'll be taking organizations through a 1 year program, and it's completely built on lived experience from our organization. You know, what gaps did we face at the start? What is the true need of these organizations? And we'll be taking them, we'll be training them, we'll be mentoring them, we'll be coaching them. And by the end of the year, our goal is to have them strengthened so they're in a position to be able to absorb more funding and have greater impact in the community. We believe we. I think it's not just about us. 10 years on, we've built a lot of experience and we want to start sharing that experience and believe that that's the way for lasting change and sustainable support. We are so grateful to all our partners and our supporters and would love to welcome new ones. But it's been an incredible 10 years.